But before
I
that,
wouldn't have thought
I'm
of
talking about way back since Monday.
Yeah.
It was some good news from the University of Missouri. The president, Tim Wolf, stepped down because he allegedly wasn't doing enough for racial injustices going on campus. And students were reaching out to him and also to different professors, and nothing was being done about it. So you guys know some of the things that was going on.
I mean, basically it started in September where Peyton Head was, I believe that was the president, like a senior and the president of one of the Black Alliances on campus was being called racial slurs, later wrote on his Facebook, "I don't understand why my presence is such a problem." It escalated in October when the beginning of October, the Legion of Black Collegians were working on something for homecoming and they were being called the N-word. And then at the end, of October, 3 weeks later, a swastika was actually found in human feces outside of a university residential hall. So, I mean, it's been building and it's been building. And then so far, recently, I believe on Monday, basically a student went on Yik Yak, which is a local app, I guess you could call it. It's basically an
anonymous bulletin board that you use, and it links you in with other posts by people who also have Yik Yak in your area. In your area. Usually it's at a college campus, sometimes it's at towns.
Yeah, and so basically this student went on anonymously, obviously, and said, "I'm going to shoot every Black person I see.
Tomorrow, I'm going to stand my ground."
And every single person who read this was like, wait, excuse me? Back up a little bit.
And there's another one, too, that said, "Some of you are okay. Don't go to class tomorrow."
Also, there was another one that was like, "We're waiting for you in the parking lot. We're going to shoot you. We're going to kill you." To that extent. And the school was not taking it seriously. There was actually a teacher who was having a test. And obviously, Black people, fearing for their safety, did not want to go to class.
A student posted an email sent to a professor saying, "Dear professor, in light of what's been going on, I don't feel safe as a Black student coming to class tomorrow for this test. Is there a way I could possibly arrange a makeup?" And the professor
his name was Dale E. Brigham.
Dale Brigham, professor there, who was actually a beloved professor. I read up on that. He said, "If you don't feel safe, don't come. However, I will be in class, and there will be a test given out in class." He further went on to say, you can't give in to bullies. If we have no tests, they win. I feel like he came from a good intention. He had a positive, intention. He really wanted the people, especially the Black students of the campus, to, feel like they shouldn't have to give in to bullies, but at the same time, he's making that statement as someone who has never had to deal with that type of prejudice.
Absolutely.
And that can come off, and it did come off as really insensitive.
White supremacy.
It did, and he resigned. He tried to resign. The university rejected his resignation. I think it was kind of a cop-out that he resigned. It's a little weak. It's like, okay, you made a mistake and you feel the only way to rectify is to resign. Why not put out a statement saying exactly what I just explained?
Right.
That you had good intentions, that you care about the safety of your students, that you care about, the safety of your Black students, and
and sign off social media, because we don't know, he probably was being attacked and everything on social media.
Death threats, tons of death threats.
And it's just like when people go through that, and I feel like a lot of oppression is overlooked, and people get so used to it, they feel like he might have been coming from a good place, but he doesn't know the amount of seriousness his words held, because he's basically saying that it's not that important, their safety. When I remember being in high school, if there was a bomb threat, school was closed. In 2 seconds, school was closed. Right. And so when students reaching out to you saying that they're in fear of their life because there was threats going around campus, then you should take that seriously, just like you would take anything else small seriously, like a clock or something.
But the irony in the situation is him saying to the Black students, "Don't give in to the bullies," and him resigning after all these death threats. Well, you're doing exactly what
you're running away.
Said not to. You're running away from the problem instead of rectifying it like an adult.
Yeah.
There were students hiding in their dorms, locking themselves in their dorm rooms on campus. But it's good, after all of this happened, there's a hashtag going around about Mizzou, and people that's the good thing about social
solidarity
media, because now different schools are able to protest outside and talk about it, and everyone's going to bring it to attention, not just throw it under the rug and make it a small situation.
I believe that there is actually a Twitter called Concerned Students 1950. I believe it's at CS_1950, which are basically organizing calls and just events to stand in solidarity with Mizu. So if you want to get any information about that, you can follow at CS_1950. Moving on to more tragedies that have been happening lately.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th was not a good day for the world, honestly. Let's go through the list right now. There was Beirut. There were 2 suicide bombings, killing 43 plus people, 250 injured. Bomber that survived mentioned he was from ISIS. In Japan, there was a tsunami warning issued after a 7.0 earthquake struck off southwest coast. Baghdad, 18 people were killed, 14 wounded when suicide bomber blew up funeral for the pro-government Shiite. I can't read that. On Friday. That was Friday, yes. Mexico had a 4.3 magnitude earthquake in Baja, California. And then, of course, Paris.
And multiple attacks on Paris, including an attack at a theater, the Bataclan.
Yes, the
Bataclan
Bataclan
Theater,
concert
where
venue.
The Eagles of Death Metal and Deftones were playing a show, and 2 men came in and took about 100 hostages, all of them dead, including the merch manager of the Eagles of Death Metal. And I mean, I was on Reddit, which is a very big website, and there are people who are live posting in the Bataclan saying, I was just there, I just got out, I had to crawl through tons of bodies to get through.
There were 89 people killed, and there were 3 gunsmen. One was shot by police,
I have here 5,
and there were 2 of them. Yeah, the 2 of them were the gunmen were killed. I think they killed themselves. They was killed in a fire in there.
I have 5 gunmen across the city killed police, actually. So 5 people have been killing police in that area.
There have been suicide bombs, and 2 of them died there after detonating their vests.
Right.
There were people who were in the theater who were Facebook messaging please come, they're killing us off one by one. The police need to come in now. These people, they're just killing off these hostages one by one. Someone has to help us, and that's so sad.
I mean, Paris turned off all of their lights in mourning.
The Eiffel Tower.
The most beautiful city in the world, arguably.
Right.
It's just so tragic to see someone go like this. The Eiffel Tower has been closed indefinitely now.
Yeah. And I mean, all public spaces like museums, like libraries have been closed. Closed on Saturday, as far as I know.
The first curfew since the Germans invaded France in World War II was imposed.
It's a mess.
Let that sink in for a minute. Since World War II, there has been no curfew in France. And after this, there is.
Around 1940.
It's a huge tragedy.
That is a huge tragedy.
And actually, in conglomerate with everything, there were a total of 115,200 deaths, casualties this week. Wow. From Paris, Japan, Baghdad, Beirut, Mexico.
It's
a sad time in the
Paris.
world. And you know what's even sadder is that the blowback of everything that's happened in Paris, what's happened in Beirut and Baghdad, is going to hit the Muslim community. Not just that, but the refugees who are trying to escape Syria right now. France has closed its borders.
Yeah.
And under, I'm pretty sure, under the United Nations law, countries have to take in refugees if they feel their life is in imminent danger.
Right.
But I feel now there's going to be a lot of opposition to that.
Well, a lot of people were blaming the refugees for what happened, but these people are trying to get away from that.
People like ISIS, exactly.
You can't control the people that follow you, you know what I mean?
Or people blaming Muslims.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I want to ask you guys, though. Do you think, in wake of all of this, that the ISIS problem and all of this, is this a problem to be handled by Western civilizations or bigger powered countries such as the United States and Russia and China, who have all come out in support of France and said, we stand with you? Or do you feel that the ISIS problem, and in general the Middle East, is an issue that has to be handled by the Arab community?
Well, it depends on who's already was there from the beginning starting it with problems. Because
I believe that I feel like the Middle East should handle it first, because it is a homegrown type of thing. You're not going to ask somebody else to fix your problem. You know what I mean?
It's a cultural, ISIS is a religious cultural movement.
Yeah.
It's not like it's the Nazi soldiers where you can come in and invade and take them out and we know where they are. They're not strategic and they're not organized the way that the Nazis are. They're way more underground and stuff like that. And they're
commonplace as well.
They're commonplaces, exactly. And most Muslims definitely don't condone the behavior
Absolutely.
of what happened, and they're horrified by it. a lot of people prefer to, in religious communities, like super tight ones, they prefer to keep their problems, within the community.
Any other religion, whatever their belief is, they leave them to their belief. They're not for violence. So,
I mean, obviously, I feel like it's definitely a Western problem that, like, oh, somebody's a Muslim, they're a terrorist. Like, that's the like mode of operations that people's brains go to because of these like isolated incidents, where like ISIS, where like Al Qaeda and stuff like that, those just happen to be like Muslim extremists. Those happen to be people who are Muslim, who are extremists. Just how there could be Christian extremists, just how there can be
religious extremists.
Yeah, anywhere.
But here's the point I'm trying to make. We came in, in the early 2000s and stuff, after 9/11, we came in with this whole big attack against Al Qaeda. And it seems as soon as we took care of that problem, ISIS came out full force, 10 times just as bad as Al Qaeda. So it leads me to wonder, if we were to get rid of ISIS theoretically the same way we handle it with Al Qaeda, who's to say that another even worse group is going to form from that?
I mean, I feel like evil is everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, there can be no good without evil. So yes, there are going to be people who are going to take the Quran and what it has to say too far. Similar to ISIS in the way that they're being worse than Al Qaeda. I mean, I can't necessarily judge that because I don't know the extent to how organized or how well produced a plan was by Al Qaeda. But I mean, as of right now, this looks planned for nothing else than for the suffering of people.
And
this
to
doesn't
incite fear amongst Westerners to push away Muslims, to isolate them, to ostracize them, to discriminate against them. And those Muslims take all of that hatred and all of that fear and intolerance, and they run back to places like ISIS or extreme, religion.
Absolutely.
As a place of comfort and acceptance.
Right.
And I think it's really fucked up.
It's frightening.
And you know what? I think a lot of religions have gone through this. I mean, the Christians, we had the Crusades.
Right.
And the Inquisition.
That was a mess.
And it was a huge mess. And I feel like one of the big problems is that the leaders of the Muslim community need to step up, and they need to say, we got to make some changes in our society. We need to make changes so that people don't interpret our book, for evil purposes.
Yeah. Because you would rather have like your mom slap your hand than someone you don't know. You know what I mean? Like you need someone to come in who is of your best interest. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Westerners will not take like an Islamic person and be like, we have your best interest in mind. Of course not, because they don't know. You know what I mean? They don't understand. Like, and it's sad because like Muslim people, from the Muslim people that I've met, they're such beautiful people with this rich culture and this amazing way of speaking that just makes you feel beautiful.